Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Slaanesh and the dinosaurs. It's going to be myself with the Exalted Keeper of Secrets facing off against Housecat of War, who is going to be rocking Tehennowin. Yes, Lizard Moses is here in a competitive match. This was a pretty late stage in a tournament. I believe we had both won our past 2 or 3 games, and we ran into one another, and I saw Tehennowin. Certainly was shocked. I did ask him after the game, so for all of you guys who are Lizard Moses fans, probably all 3 of you guys in chat, he did actually bring this on purpose, and it is a competitive pick in his opinion, so get hyped. Now, as far as my build goes, it is going to be a front line of the Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges, and these guys are great, just probably the best heavy infantry in the game, to be honest. Super high melee defense at 54, good offensive output with 32 and 32 with poison attacks. They reflect, they have charge reflection, which is an interesting mechanic, which obviously you can read the tooltip. When bracing, this unit causes additional damage when attacking charging enemies. So I would like to kind of test that a little bit against some of the basic warriors, but not a mechanic I'm super familiar with, but I've heard it's quite good. Physical resist, ITP, very good against the dinosaurs who do have a fair amount of terror, and yeah, they will beat the brakes off Saurus, and even if they do get attacked by Croxagores, they can hold for a long time because of how good their melee defense is. So front line is going to be Hell Scourges, backed up with the Princes of Perfection on the far side, devoted Marauders with Spears. Always good to have a couple spears in the dino matchup. There's big things, and yes, they do lack armor piercing, but if you're able to just stick these into combat versus Croxagores, they use the Soporific Musk to lower the combat stats of those Croxagores, you're going to have an okay time. On top of that, we got some Marauders out on the far side, going to be going for Objective 1, and our Lord, like I said, is going to be the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, rocking the new Pavane of Slaanesh. So it's only new that it rampages you instantly, right? The previous Pavane, you had to damage them down to, I believe, 80% or less, but now you can rampage them instantly. So if you guys are Slaanesh players, Pavane is going to be your new best friend. In this matchup, it's not super good because the dinos usually just go very wide, and there's not too many targets that are super worthy rampaging, in my opinion. But and also, here's a little thing about the dinosaurs that I didn't notice until the game started. I looked at his character, I was like, wait a second, he has focus instinct, so he can actually stop rampage of nearby units, which is kind of cool. So if I rampage something near him, he can get rid of it. But yeah, it's a very good spell, and it does damage and lowers vigor. Marauder Horseman is going to be my last pick, and for old Housecat, it's going to be pretty different. He's got a full battle line of Saurus Warriors with shields, some skinks in the backfield looking like the colors of the rainbow. We do have the Bastillodon with the Rev Crystal, which is if you're going for a character that can't heal. So you don't have Monstamundi, you don't have a Power Slan who's going to be healing life. Having a Rev Crystal pretty much covers your bases. It has, I think, 8 charges. So yeah, this thing, 7 charges. Over the course of a long game is going to be able to heal you a lot. Every time it casts this, it's going to be healing you for 10% of your HP. Talk about awesome. Now, what does Lizard Moses bring to the table? He's a big, scary combat character. Of course, 500 plus weapon strength, tons of HP at 10,000, and he does have a lot of items. He's got the Plaque of Sotek, which is going to be giving him 20% ward save when he's casting. So if he's in a pinch, he's being attacked, he can cast spells, and that's going to be keeping him nice and durable. He's got the Arcane Configuration for power recharge. Immune to contact effects, so he's immune to poisons, which does have some relevance because Slaanesh does have a fair amount of poison. And yeah, he's got Flock of Doom, Burning Alignment, and he's just a very durable combat character, really. A little bit more durable than Monstamundi, probably because you have this Plaque of Sotek, which gives him ward save pretty constantly when he's spamming Flock of Doom. But aside from that, we're going to see how he does, my friends. Battle is on, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of skirmishing here. Marauder Horseman going to be rolling up. I forgot to mention that he does have a Temple Guard too. So Temple Guard, pretty rad. In a straight fight, I think a Temple Guard unit would probably beat Hell Scourge Warrior just because they have 1,500 more HP, they have good armor piercing, and they themselves have good armor. And yeah, I mean, they're pretty serious fighters. These guys don't mess around, and you can also see they do get fear and immune to psychology if there's a lord nearby. Pretty rad indeed. So poke it away, and Flock of Doom going down on my Marauder Horseman. We'll do a little bit of damage. Obviously, they're bunched up, so my micro was a little bit lazy there. I am going to be trying to contest Objective 3 right out of the gates, so we move up with our Chaos Warriors, as well as the Spears, and we're going to be trying to lock this down. In the meantime is Ancient Salamander, which is a very good tech against heavy infantry. It just has good range at 160, it can outrange my Horsemen, and you just kind of sit back and poke and live your best life. It's a very, very good unit. So we start to get this objective, we get very close to it, but then he does move on some more troopers, so I am going to end up losing this with Tehennowin and the Skinks. He gets the capture weight. I try to pile in at the last second to get that, but it is not going to happen. But Hell Scourge Warriors, like I said, will just annihilate Saurus in combat. Their high armor in tandem with their insane melee defense is going to be very favorable for you, and they're more expensive, right? They're like 150 more than a Saurus unit. So we do see Tehennowin getting into the backfield, get a little bit hog wild back here, but I'm happy about this because he's overextended a little bit into my territory, and now the Exalted Keeper of Secrets is going to turn around and start using its just hard-hitting anti-large attacks, right? So we're going to get a lot of DPS in there. I do use the Seductive Glory, which is an activated ability from the Keeper of Secrets, and that is going to be rampaging Tehennowin, and he can't free himself from rampage. He can only free nearby units. Even still, though, it's starting to discover how tanky this guy was. I was like, god damn, he's like taking no damage. We had an anti-large character and a bunch of javelins hitting him, and he barely took like 15-20% of his HP, right? but the other objectives are looking good. We have objective 1, we have objective 2, and a little bit of sneaky here, which is going to be a pretty hard punishment for my opponent. Temple Guard, this is like their last thing they want to fight. Exalted Demonettes will butcher Temple Guard. They're going to be charged in there, and these elite lizards are going to have a really bad time. I know the Lizardmen were like born and bred to fight chaos, but Temple Guard were certainly not born and bred to fight Exalted Demonettes of Slaanesh. You can see a one-sided massacre is going to be taking place. Meanwhile, he used the Burning Alignment, so I hadn't seen Tehenwyn in so long, I forgot it existed. And the Burning Alignment goes right down the pipe, cooks a lot of my Chaos Warriors, but I was actually shocked it didn't do more damage. Like, it did a little bit, but my Hell Scourges will probably still win this fight against the Saurus, or at least be very close. So I was like, man, that's a little bit of a disappointing one. CA, if you're watching, buff that spell up. It's really hard to land. It has a super long cast time. I feel like it should be like Combat of Cassandra, where if it hits you, you're going to get punished really badly. Nonetheless, we do see the Exalted Keeper of Secrets being forced back. Incredibly squishy character, right? It does have a little shield, which is nice, but it only has 15 armor, so if it's being poked by skink skirmishers and other things like that, it's not going to do so well. So we do end up losing this objective here, but value trading, we're actually ahead, so we're in a commanding position at this point in the game, but we'll see how it goes. And here are the Exalted Demonettes butchering the Temple Guard, but just to make it a little bit worse, we do use the Pavane of Slaanesh, which is going to be lowering their vigor and also doing a big amount of damage, because it's kind of like a mini Melkoth's type effect in terms of its damage output. Hellscourge is trading very well here. We got some Hellscourges hanging out there, some of the backside of the objective, and some Marauders sitting on the far side with the Devoted Marauders and the Devoted Marauders here. So all is cozy in the realm. Value trading is pretty good with the Rev Crystal coming into play. I would say maybe value is probably dead even at this point. Javelin is going to be throwing here, so it's going to be sitting on the objective. They only have bronze shields, if I'm not mistaken, so throwing javelins at them isn't the worst idea. I only wish that I had brought more javelins. They've been so good for me this game. So here we do use another Rampage. That's going to be Seductive Glory, and that's a pretty good Rampage because it Rampages my opponent into Exalted Demonettes, which Subutai, my buddy, he pointed out something very interesting. He's like, they're kind of like cavalry a little bit. They're like cavalry in matchups in which you don't want to bring large targets, right? And it's definitely very true. With 50 plus speed, super hard hitting, they're able to mow down a lot of targets, including Tehenwyn here. So Lizard Moses is taking a big beating. The Exalted Keeper of Secrets chipping away his HP. Wyson's Wild Form goes down though, and while that's active, the Plaque of Sotek is going to be giving him a ton of ward save and leadership. So it makes him incredibly tough to break, right? Couple Saurus Warriors trying to weasel their way around, surround my Lord. And of course, Slaanesh just has some really good counterplay to, sneaky plays, and that is going to be the Seekers. Seekers have amazing armor piercing. You don't want to leave them in sustained combat too long, so we pull them back. They're very much a cycle charging unit with the devastating flanker and some of those other tools they can do well. Now, this could be a fatal mistake for my opponent. He pushes pretty deep into my lands. I have my Horseman, I have my Keeper of Secrets. So basically here, if we're able to kill Lizard Moses, my opponent will probably be in a position where they're going to lose the game. So I'm like, let's go for it. Let's get in there and let's take this bad boy down. So the Keeper of Secrets with its anti-large attacks, chew it away. Pavane of Slaanesh is active, which means he can't cast, can't get his ward save. And this bad boy is at 2700 HP. Seekers are doing great damage. You have a little bit of Javelin support because the Lizards are certainly not in a bad position. However, on the other side, we do get a good engagement here as the Hellstriders do manage to catch the Ancient Salamander. And we're winning most of the infantry fights. Granted, this pocket of his has been doing very well. He's been bunker busting my Hell Scourges and doing a lot of pushing damage. And my Lord is not without, issues as well. So we get him down to about 1600 HP. The Rev Crystal and Wyson's Wild Form giving a little bit of durability via the extra armor there. And a nice Burning Alignment is going to be going through my units. But really, it doesn't do that much damage. Despite looking super cool, it is not that insane. So here, very unfortunate. He's able to escape with about 1500 HP. At his lowest, we had him at about 800 before that Rev Crystal came down. So I was like, man, a couple more attacks and we could have just closed out the game there. That would have been a big value lead. He'd have a leadership penalty and we would be cackling all the way to the bank. But, the Cunning Lizard, and this is the thing, Mazdamundi probably would have died there because he wouldn't have had the same ward save that Tehenwyn has via casting and the durability from his baseline ward save, which he has here with the Portent of Warding, right? That 5% is probably what saved his life over the course of all the damage he took. So very cool to see some alternative lords getting a little bit of play here. In the meantime, we almost get down the Ancient Salamander, but Lizard Moses is going to come back here, and the Skink Skirmishers doing excellent poking, so it feels pretty bad for the Hellscourge boys. They're trying, but Salamanders themselves do have 95 armor, so they're pretty tanky beasts. Now, I'm a little bit beat up. His Lord is literally sitting at 1400 HP. I'm sitting at 2000. I'm much squishier, though, so my HP doesn't count for quite as much. But what's cool about the Exalted Keeper of Secrets is it does have passive healing via the Feasting on Fear, but you have to get something to be low leadership near you or wavering. They have to be wavering or lower, so basically running, right? And it's a little bit tricky because Lizards are such a good leadership faction. I was like, uh-oh, how are we going to get this done? As far as the Exalted Demonettes, they've done pretty well. 1200 value on this one, and these Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges, 495. And my plan here at this point was basically to try and find some low leadership units. Like right here, we Pavane them, and now my Lord is going to be running in. A couple of Hellscourge Warriors did overextend our Devoted Marauders, unfortunately, into Croxagore, so it feels pretty bad there. they're going to be getting smashed up. And he did manage to ninja my side objective. So he called in a Croxagore and a Skin cohort there and was able to overwhelm my very paltry defenders. So you can see now that his Lord is alive, Tehenowin is rallied. He's able to, save the Ancient Salamander back here, which otherwise maybe would have died. I am in a little bit of danger. Hellscourge Warrior's going to be chewing through these SARs here, and now my big boy is going to be coming in, the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, and is going to be trying to get a leadership route on these, so maybe I can get some healing. We need everything we can get, because he's ahead on value now, and Tehenowin is approaching healing cap, which means he's probably ahead by even 2,000 value. My army felt really, really small at this point. I have the Chaos Warriors, I do have some Spears, a little bit of cheeky play we can do in here, and a couple devoted Hellscourge is going to be moving over to that objective. So we do manage to heal up about 200 HP from Feasting on the Fear, so chasing these units. And yeah, it's not bad at all. You can just keep chasing, routing units, and it will continue to heal you, which is very, very good. And yeah, we're able to heal up a couple hundred HP. Every little bit matters. Lizards have a ton of poking, ton of javelins, lots of things like that. And at this point, it looks like we're going to get triple cap. So very, very dodgy. We do have the Princes of Perfection in reserve, as well as devoted Marauders. And yeah, the Exalted Keeper are going to be looking for some more free targets where they can. We certainly need a little bit of a backup from the Chaos Warriors of Hellscourges. Really cool play from his Ancient Salamander too. This thing was able to get about 1,000 value this game, and certainly a little bit more to give. Calling in some Horsemen here on the far side. Horsemen, a very, very good poking tool. And I really wish I had brought more. They're super useful. And it's not that the Slaanesh ones do a ton of damage or anything, but just having that utility, like 1 or 2 more Horsemen, maybe would have been enough to finish off Tehenowin, right? But he was able to squeak away. And well, I doubt he squeaks, but he balked away from us and was able to escape. So Hellscourge Warriors going to get punched in the face by something that certainly has enough stopping power to get through them. Their stubby little crocodile arms going to be punching through these bad boys. So Hellscourge is sitting at 4,700 HP. Going to be melting pretty quickly, and a little bit of housekeeping here from Housecat, as he is going to be unsummoning. And we're trying desperately to get this objective back. I know I'm ahead on points, so I have a little bit of time to fight our way back in the game, so there's still plenty of chances here. We're creeping back in value. We do get a good fight here. The Croxagores are getting beaten down by the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, which is a very good anti-large fighter, and I thought about Azazel in this matchup, but honestly, the anti-large from the Keeper of Secrets seems so good. I do think that it is the go-to, but it's a little bit squishy. You have to be very finesse-based, which I think is how Slaanesh should be. I don't think Slaanesh should ever be a pure brute force faction, right? Like Khorne, for example, where your lords are like pretty tanky. I think that you should be rewarded for high micro and like really scrappy play and things like that. So Croxagores here at -5 and -5. The Princes of Perfection poking away. We are at 2,000 HP, so we have been able to kind of maintain that threshold. And here on the side objective, we are able to overwhelm some of the defenders. And here is going to be Fascination. So Fascination is the army ability for Slaanesh, so it's going to be rampaging the Cold and Spear Riders, doing a little bit of damage as well, and it pulls them basically to their death, right? We pull them in to the Seekers, and Seekers are excellent against Cold and Spear Riders if they're not taking the head-on charge. So we rampage them, and now the Exalted Keeper is going to be moving in, and we should be able to get some big stopping power in here. There's a couple Croxagores. Wow, 2 Croxagores going down to that charge. I don't know if they're going to stand up. Yeah, it looks like they just got knocked down, but overall it's pretty good, and we will be using a Pavane of Slaanesh now. So Pavane is going to be going down here on the Golden Spear Riders, doing a little bit of damage as well, and here comes the Exalted Keeper once again to help kind of buffer these guys off. Pulling back with these Seekers, they're obviously a unit you don't want in frontline combat, and I saw Lizard Moses coming in, and man, oh man, I was starting, to feel like maybe I had a slight chance here on the side objective, fighting back. The value got close. Like, we were down by like almost 2,000, right? But that flank engagement, we pull it to about 1,000, which is good. We're getting a little bit of healing going. But overall, Lizard Moses is just too jacked. He's got 3,600. We had a little bit of cheeky action here on the far side with some Hellstriders getting in there. But overall, the Skinks and other poking units are going to get the job done. And that is going to be GG well played. So yeah, great game for my opponent. It was a really fun match, and I think that one could have gone either way. I think if we had picked off Lizard Moses earlier, had the leadership penalty across the armies, I think we could have taken over the game. That was one thing. Also, another kind of piece of commentary to give you guys in the fourth quarter, just post-game analysis is, though the Pavane of Slaanesh and Rampage is really good, the Lizardmen I don't think present any targets that are super necessary. And the downside of doing that is I gave up the Slaanesh lore passive spam, right? So Blissful Rapture is one of the best lore passives in the game. It's so good. Every time you cast a spell, your whole army gets a melee attack buff. And I wasn't casting spells very often. Whereas if I had been using Acquiescence, Hysterical Frenzy, those buff spells, that could have made a bigger difference, and I could have been doing more damage across my entire army, which would have won me more engagements. So 2 lessons to take away. Obviously, I need to be better at finishing that target. Maybe bring a couple Marauder Horsemen in reserve. And also, I think in this matchup, though the Rampage is nice, I think the lore passive spam is probably the way to go. So it's cool to know that both styles work as well. Now, looking at the value, we did get 2,600 here. Hellscourges did okay. They had to fight Croc scores, which isn't easy. But I think my Exalted Demonettes probably did well. 1,400, the other one not so well, unfortunately. But one Seeker did pretty good. Marauder Horseman got 1,600, so definitely a couple more of those could have helped me squeak out some more value. And yeah, that was it. GG, well played. Hennewen was a beast. 2,700 on him. Temple Guard got wrecked by the Demonettes, of course. Salamander literally just barely paid for itself. And yeah, Croc scores at 2,800. What Giga Chads, man. That was fun. All right, guys, take care of yourself. We'll see you next time with some more sweaty tournament matches. This was a tourney, and I have some really, really good replays we had from this one. So that's it for tonight. You guys take care of yourselves, and Sigmar bless.